So friends, I want to start today with what is one of my favorite headlines in a long time. This from CBS News. Trial judge retakes control of Trump 2020 election case after Supreme Court immunity ruling. Or, put another way, Chutkan takes the reins. Let's talk about that, because justice matters. Hey all, Glenn Kirshner here. So friends, are you ready for a little justice? You know, after what seems like an eternity, finally, the case of Trump versus United States, the case in which Donald Trump is indicted for trying to overturn the results of the 2020 presidential election, trying to criminally retain the power of the presidency, running roughshod over the expressed will of the American voters. Well, that case, that prosecution is finally being returned from the Supreme Court back into the capable hands of Judge Tanya Chutkan, the presiding federal court judge in Washington, D.C. And we are about to see some evidentiary hearings laying bare the crimes of Donald Trump. Hearings will be held for Judge Chutkan to decide whether these crimes Donald Trump committed to try to steal the 2020 presidential election involved official presidential conduct. I mean, this is exactly what an American president is supposed to be doing, right? Or unofficial conduct, private conduct, the conduct of a candidate trying to unlawfully, unconstitutionally retain the power of the presidency after losing an election. We are about to see the evidence of the crimes of Donald Trump. Let's start with the new reporting. U.S. District Judge Tanya Chutkan has once again taken control over the 2020 election-related prosecution against former President Donald Trump and could soon lay out how the case will move forward in the coming weeks. The case was sent back to the U.S. Court of Appeals for the District of Columbia Circuit after the Supreme Court ruled in a 6-3 decision that former presidents are immune from prosecution for official acts they took while in office. The three-judge panel at the appeals court level, which previously found that Trump could not be shielded from criminal charges, issued a brief, unsigned order sending the matter back to the district court on Friday. Quote, "It is ordered on the court's own motion that this case be remanded to the district court for further proceedings consistent with the Supreme Court's opinion," the D.C. Circuit said. Judge Chutkan is now expected to interpret and apply the Supreme Court's ruling. She will have to decide which alleged conduct described in Special Counsel Jack Smith's indictment of the former president is official in nature and which could be the subject of criminal prosecution. Smith charged Trump about a year ago with 4 counts tied to his conduct after the 2020 presidential election, including conspiracy to defraud the U.S. Prosecutors allege the former president worked to subvert the peaceful transfer of power through a pressure campaign at the state and federal level that culminated in the January 6, 2021 Capitol attack. Trump pleaded not guilty to the charges, he denied wrongdoing, and claimed the prosecution was politically motivated. Okay, friends, let's talk about the implications of this case being remanded from the Supreme Court back down to Judge Tanya Chutkan. What does it mean in real terms? Well, in very short order, perhaps as soon as tomorrow, because Judge Chutkan is known to work weekends, but perhaps by Monday or Tuesday, we will see a hearing schedule set out by Judge Chutkan. What will these hearings look like? Well, I suspect they will be sort of pretty far-ranging, pretty broad in their approach regarding the kind of evidence and information Judge Chutkan will want and will need to decide the issue of which of Donald Trump's criminal acts were official presidential acts, such that he can't be prosecuted for them, and which of his criminal acts were unofficial, were private conduct, were the kind of acts that no president has the business in engaging in to try to retain the power of the presidency. And in order to make these decisions, friends, she's going to need to hear lots of evidence about Jack Smith's investigation into these crimes. We don't know at this point whether there will be a whole parade of witnesses, and please remember, almost all of the witnesses who testified before the grand jury about the crimes of Donald Trump are Republican witnesses. So, footnote, when this case finally goes to trial, and it will, assuming Donald Trump is not elected on November 5th, and he will not be elected on November 5th. So when the case goes to trial on whatever unofficial acts Donald Trump can be tried for, he will be convicted based on a chorus of almost exclusively Republican witnesses, Republican voices, not a bunch of angry Democrats, as Donald Trump likes to label all his enemies. So I suspect Judge Chutkan will want to hear lots and lots and lots of evidence before she can come to an informed decision about which of Donald Trump's criminal acts might be official and enjoy some immunity, and which are unofficial, which are private. And I suspect the vast majority of the acts will be deemed unofficial acts. You don't get to commit a whole bunch of crimes to retain the power of the presidency and claim that, no, that's what being a president is all about. Those are the official acts within the scope of a president's official duties. Are you kidding me? So friends, as these hearings unfold, I will be covering them for you here on my Justice Matters channel each and every day that court is in session. Let me tell you what that looks like. So the courts of Washington, D.C. are where I spent decades prosecuting cases as a federal prosecutor, as an assistant United States attorney at the District of Columbia U.S. Attorney's Office. So I spent lots of times in these courthouses and in these courtrooms. Indeed, you may have heard me say previously that a couple of decades back, I used to try murder cases against Tanya Chutkan, now Judge Chutkan. She was a public defender. I was a federal homicide prosecutor. She was one heck of a worthy adversary or opponent, and I always enjoyed trying cases against her because, yes, she was strong and fierce and fearless, but she was also honorable and civil and cordial, and we had a very good, albeit adversarial, relationship. And I have kept up with Judge Chutkan in her time as a federal judge. I've been in her courtroom many times, have spoken with her in the courthouse, and I have to tell you, when I saw that short headline from CBS, Judge Chutkan takes the reins, I could not have been more pleased, because it really does feel like the case is going to begin moving in the direction of accountability. So I will be in the courtroom covering these cases and reporting back to you on Daily Justice Matters videos. I will tell you there is the courtroom proper. That's the court in which Donald Trump and Judge Chutkan and the audience will sit each day. Assuming Donald Trump is required by Judge Chutkan to be present. Open question. We'll talk more about that in the future. But then, together with the courtroom proper, there are overflow courtrooms where the proceedings in the trial court are broadcast on a closed circuit. So the public can come into those overflow courtrooms, and they won't be in the courtroom proper, but they will be able to watch the proceedings in real time. And then the other option where I spend some time is in the media room in the federal courthouse in DC. The nice thing about the media room is that, if you're in the courtroom proper, you're not allowed to have your cell phone on. So you're not reporting anything that's going on in the courtroom, not in real time, but in the media room, which also has a closed circuit, real-time live feed. You can be posting things. That's where we have lots of great reporters and investigative journalists and bloggers who are doing some great work getting the word out in real time. Literally, you're dealing with about a 5 to 10 second delay when folks are in the media room watching on camera what's going on in the courtroom and sending it out to the world so people can see with their own eyes. They can read the accounts of precisely and accurately what's going on in the courtroom. Because the last thing anybody wants to do, is wait for people to step to the camera at the end of the day and tell us what went on in that courtroom, because a lot of the people who will step to the camera, will be Donald Trump's flunkies and lapdogs and sycophants and mouthpieces, and they will misrepresent what's going on in the courtroom. But you will get straight, accurate, reliable, and real-time information about what's going on in these evidentiary proceedings that I suspect will be extremely enlightening regarding the crimes of Donald Trump and the evidence of those crimes and the witnesses who will testify about the evidence of those crimes. And frankly, no, there won't be a jury in the box, and we won't get a verdict before November 5th, before the presidential election, but we will get information and evidence that will inform voters when they're going to the polls on November 5th. Whether they're voting for somebody who perhaps didn't do anything wrong on and around January 6th, or in all likelihood, you're going to see evidence that, Donald Trump did plenty wrong. He committed crime after crime after crime to try to retain the power of the presidency. And as you've heard me say before, friends, and I'll end on this, there may not be a jury in that wooden box in Washington, D.C. in federal court, but I'm pleased to report that y'all have been selected as jurors in the case of the United States versus Donald Trump. And you all have seen the evidence, and you will continue to see the evidence courtesy of these hearings that will be held by Judge Chutkan, and you will get to assess the evidence of Donald Trump's guilt, and you will be able to vote on November 5th, and you will be able to vote Donald Trump guilty, because he is guilty, and because justice matters. Friends, as always, please stay safe, please stay tuned, and I look forward to talking with you all again tomorrow.